Hello and welcome to Social Media 2022. I'm Liam Fahey from Business Station as part of the Digital Solutions program, and today I'm going to be your host as we talk all things social media going into next year. Now, this webinar has been proudly brought to you by the Digital Solutions program and is being hosted on Zoom, unless you're watching it on YouTube later. This webinar is being recorded, so if you miss anything at any point in time, you will be sent a link and you can watch it back later. So for you watching online, we hope that you are going to learn a lot today. For those of you that are watching live right now, through your Zoom controls at the bottom, you have the option to use the chat function and the question and answer function. So down the bottom there, you can put in the chat any questions that you have as we go. And I'll do my best to manage it and answer those questions as we go through today's webinar. So the things that we're going to be covering are Facebook's new algorithm, what to post and when, a bit of a showcase of how I doubled a small business in a year without spending any advertising dollars. We're going to be talking all things Creator Studio, how to schedule your marketing and plan your approach. We're going to talk about who your customers are, which social media is best to reach them for your business. And the most important thing is probably what is coming and how to stay relevant. We know as business owners that we should be doing more of social media. I own a couple of different companies. I've been doing social media since 2008, with all focus on everything from production to the actual advertising and copywriting. So if we look at the statistics of data of what Australians are doing with social media today, the very interesting thing is that they spend an average of 1 hour and 45 minutes on social media. They spend 6 hours and 15 minutes a day online across all devices. So that could be everything from listening to Spotify in the car on the way to work, to sending emails, to watching Netflix. But one thing is clear, Australians are spending more time online than ever before. Now, I've got a very interesting question for the audience. What is the most popular social media platform in Australia at the moment? Take a bit of a guess, drop it into the chat below, and I'll tell you shortly. What we're going to do is we're going to start with a little bit of a look at Facebook. Facebook is one of those very interesting platforms, and that is sort of the first mainstream one that users started to get very heavily involved with their business on. For those of you that are answering, it is also the second most popular platform in Australia at the moment. So let's get started and have a little bit of a look at Facebook. So I'm going to share my screen and show you what I'm seeing. And this is my personal Facebook account. And when I scroll down, the very second thing I'll always see is some form of advertisement. We know it's advertising because we have the sponsored post indication right here. If I scroll down a little bit more, I'm confident I'm going to see some other form of advertising. Right here, a job ad that's been sponsored. Go for a bit more of a scroll. And there we go, something else that is sponsored. So in between that was content that Facebook thinks I'll be interested in. And this one's a very interesting one from a plane spotting group, showcasing some military aircraft. Now, I understand why Facebook has showed me that piece of content. Because if I look at my personal profile, you'll quickly realize, along with working for Business Station, I fly planes. So I definitely have an interest in the aircraft. That's one of the things that Facebook has learned about me. From the information that I put in when I first signed up, it also knows a lot more. So it knows that I own a couple of different companies, do a few different things. It knows that I live in the regional city of Rockhampton in Queensland. It knows that I'm a Kiwi from Green Park. It knows that I went to Chanel College, which is in Gladstone. The interaction I have with my friend details more information about who I am and what Facebook knows about me. Because the most important thing for every single social media platform, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube, is your scrolling. When you scroll down through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they want you to see something that you're interested in, because the more time you spend scrolling, the more advertising you're going to see and the more money that company is going to make. So all the big platforms are there to showcase content that they think is interesting towards its users. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you news feed preferences. This is the other part of how these systems work. So let's have a look at my settings and privacy, news feed preferences. I'm going to go manage favorites, which is how you can prioritize content that comes up in your feed first. Open. There we go, just took a moment. And what it's done is it's organized the content based on how much I interact with the business or the people. So I heavily use Facebook just for business. So the majority of the content that's on here relates to businesses. But then it has my wife, close friends, family, my mum, more friends. And as I scroll down through this list, I'm going to start to come across people I don't interact with, businesses I don't interact with as much. So Billawheeler Hotel, I don't go out to Billawheeler much, so I haven't seen anything that comes up on their social media. Let's find another one, Bush Designs. I actually have no idea who that is, but at some point in time, I liked their page. I'm sure if I just keep scrolling, I'm going to come across a person that I was friends with, but I don't interact with anymore. So if I now go searching for these people, these businesses, and like a few things that are on their page, what's going to happen is Facebook's going to go, okay, Liam is interested in this person or this business, and I'm going to show you more content. You've probably all had that situation where you've jumped onto Facebook, you've seen something, or you've gone looking for someone that you knew in the past or you used to be friends with, and you wonder what they've been up to since school or last time you worked with them. You do a little bit of a stalk search for them, and then you don't stop seeing their content. That's news feed preferences at work. All social medias want to put the most important thing it thinks for you at the very top. So as a business, you want to be the most important thing for these, for your customers. You want to be at the very top of your social media feeds for each of them. And how they essentially all work is based on engagement. Likes, tags, shares, comments, clicks, follows. These are the words that are important in social media in 2022. You want to put out content out there that your customers are going to click on, relate to, and connect with so that they see more of it. So the social media companies, the algorithms, which algorithms not really the right word to use anymore. You see, they use machine learning, multiple layers of machine learning, where it adapts and changes and tests to refine the type of content it puts up in front of its audience. So before we go into the next bit, I'm going to answer the question, who's the biggest social media platform in the world, in Australia at the moment? A couple of the guesses from the audience were Instagram, and we had one for TikTok. The biggest social media platform in terms of most used in Australia is YouTube, with 78.2% of Australian users using YouTube, followed by Facebook at 77.7%, TikTok at 23.6%. Now, this one's actually very interesting. It's currently the most downloaded app on Android, and it's up there as well on Apple for 2021. But last year, TikTok only had about 8% of Australian users. Now it's at 23.6%. So it's one of the fastest growing in our country. Instagram has about 55.3% of the Australian population, and Snapchat is dropping at 29.3%. So Snapchat and Instagram are both platforms that are losing users. They're losing users very rapidly, they're not evolving, they're not adapting as quick as they should be. Why Facebook is staying reasonably steady and TikTok is fast growing along with YouTube. So let's have a little bit of a look at creating content that users are going to engage with, regardless of what platform you are on. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to have a look at a butcher shop. So apologies straight away for anyone out there that is a vegan or vegetarian. So I'm using the example of Parker's Quality Meats today. They're giving me permission to use their content for the purposes of training. So we're going to just have a little bit of a look at their post style. So we've got one for Christmas products coming up, and we've got reasonably good engagement. We've got a good distribution store on it. We've got good reach, and we've got a reasonable number of comments and reactions. Now, a quick little tip for you is if you click on the reactions, you'll have the opportunity to invite people to like your page if they don't already. So it looks like everyone has currently been invited, but if they're not, then this will be, it will say invite and you can invite them. I imagine my company's been a little bit too active with it. So I can't show you that example, but we're getting lots of comments and lots of reactions. This is a rather quite unique piece of content in that we've drawn a cartoon with a couple of butchers. There you go. This person currently does not like the page, but we can send them an invite to like the page. That's a great way to start building your audience and increasing the number of likers and followers that you have on your page. But what we have here is we have a huge number of reactions, a few comments, and a couple of shares. Shares are definitely the best one for expanding your audience, because anytime someone shares that content onto their own page, then there's potential that all their friends and everyone that interacts with that person that has shared it is going to see that content. So we try and encourage shares as much as we can. We've got a product shop. Now, one thing you might know straight away is that this product shop, while it's a rather quite a fantastic photo, actually has a lower distribution store. It's reached a few more people in some of the posts, but has less engagement. This one's doing better. This one is doing really well. So just keep that in mind. This post has done reasonably well, a little bit of a lower distribution store. This one, not so well. This one's a video, did not have very much engagement at all. Another video, sort of reasonable reactions, no comments. Another product shop, very, very low engagement, low distribution store. This one, great response. I'm just going to skip through a few of these to some product photography that I know is coming up. There we go. Some professional product photography of steaks, Lane's barbecue, another steak, lambs, this sort of thing. And these are performing way worse than the other posts. So does anyone know why? Does anyone want to take a bit of a guess, put it up in the chat box as why this sort of style post, why it's very professional, nice clean images, is performing worse than the other pictures? No people. So Lisa's straight onto it with no people. And you are correct. You got to remember, first and foremost, that social media is for socializing. So when you go onto social media, no one really goes on there to purchase products, find out what local businesses are doing. They go on there for community elements. So they're looking for photos of what their friends and family are doing. They're looking for social events that are coming up. They're looking for those social elements. So if you want to really push forward your brand, the key thing is to always make sure, as much as you can, you have a person in it. And when the marketing company that I owned first started working with this business, they were just doing product shots, this sort of style thing. The first year that they worked with them, they doubled their business. The second year, they tripled it through the one simple principle of having people in the photos. And while it's not a guarantee every time, we do know that the shots always perform better than if we just have a picture of a product. So a lot of businesses get stuck in this one where they focus on those really fine product style shots and they do not get an active, engaged audience that are commenting and reacting and responding to their content. So people style shots are always good. The other thing that's good is when you can do unique style shots, something that you wouldn't normally see on social media. These sort of things have the potential to go viral and attract attention, which is why they do the comics. Product style shots straight away look like advertising. And advertising, if it's not really geared towards and highly targeted towards the customer, is not very effective. So what I'm going to do now, if anyone has any questions at any point in time, do just put them in the chat or use the question and answer function on the Zoom controls. We're going to have a look at Creator Studio. So over here on the left-hand side, if I click on Creator Studio, we're going to be able to have a look to see what posts are going to be coming up for this business. So this is Creator Studio. Depending on which version of Facebook you're in, you might have publishing tools. So they more or less mostly work the same. The one advantage of Creator Studio, which is the new latest version, is that it does have the option for posting on Instagram as well. So you can post directly to Instagram as well as to Facebook. Just by coming up here, clicking on the Instagram logo and clicking on Create Post. You do have to make sure that your Instagram and your Facebook accounts are linked. So I can create an Instagram feed, which is your main wall for your Instagram, or I can create an IGTV, essentially putting up a video. Works much the same as you would expect. You write your posts, you add your content, and you can also post to Facebook from the Instagram feed as well, if you have that option turned on. If we look back at our Facebook, we also have some options here. In that, if we click on the Create New, we can create posts. So create something interesting, put your text in there, add your photos, videos, whatever content you're planning on sharing, hopefully something with people in it. And then you can publish it, which will drop it straight to your feed, or you can click the downwards facing arrow on the right-hand side and click on Schedule Posts. So if you schedule it, you can say that, okay, you want this post to go up on Friday at 6:39 a.m. and you can click on Schedule. So the post I just wrote up, which is incredibly exciting, as you can see, is now scheduled to go up. This is just very useful in that you can pre-plan out your content. As business owners, we get very busy. And when you get busy, you forget to do things like posting. The other thing that it has here is that it has the calendar. With calendar, you can see what you've posted and what's coming up. So if I go back into October, look at the monthly view, I can see all our posts for the month of October for this business. I find this useful for like pre-planning out what content I'm going to have and when I'm going to be posting it. With this business in particular today, there isn't actually anything scheduled to go up except for that little test post that I just created. So I'm going to delete that. But let's say it is a post that is currently up and I want to use it later. I always have the option as well to reschedule it. So I'm just going to delete that one. Now, the other option that we had there was the ability to add a story. And stories are going to be important for later. Just going to pick a random page here. Through the create a story, it's a little bit more limited than if you're creating a story for your mobile phone, but it still allows you to put up a photo or use a text story and schedule something to your wall. So it's just a way you can also pre-plan a little bit of content. From the chat, we have a question. This user has Business Suite. The difference between Business Suite and Creator Studio, there's not a lot of difference. It's mostly style and design. They do function the same way, in that you'll have the ability to schedule content, view it. I think the main difference is you might not have the insights on your studio wall, but the functionality and form will very much be the same. In that you should be able to post to Facebook and Instagram from your publishing tools, from your Creator Studio, or your Business Suite. If you have publishing tools, you won't be able to publish through to Instagram. It just depends on what version of Facebook your account currently is and when you also created your Facebook for your business. So if I click on Business Suite, this is the other version that you have. It functions in much the same way, in that you come down here to posts and stories, and you can create your posts, you can create your stories, and if you have your Instagram linked, you'll have the option there as well to post to Facebook and Instagram. So Creator Studio and Business Suite are more or less the same thing, in that they both function the same way. It's just the viewing that you get and the information is a little bit different and is read a little bit different. If you don't have access to either of those, the one that you have access to is publishing tools, which looks like this. It doesn't work correctly for my one because I am using a different version, so it won't load. But it'll load any post that we've previously had in the system. But they all function the same way, in that they're designed to be scheduling your content. And scheduling content is good because you can post things when you're working, you can post things at different times of the day, because your audience is online at different times of the day. So the question I normally get right about now is, how many posts should I be doing and what time of the day should I be posting them? And for the answer to that question, we are going to go into insights. So from our main wall feed, we have to come back down. I'm going to click on insights. And I'm going to go down and click on posts. This is the insights for my page. This is how each of the posts that I've been putting up have been performing. And this here, this is the time of the day my audience is online, set to Pacific time zone. So Pacific time zone is, if I'm correct, the west coast of America, around California, where Facebook is set. So I know that roughly 5 a.m. in the morning on this scale here is around about 11 o'clock at night, where the audience starts to drop off. So just use a time converter to convert it to your own time zone. But in the middle of the night, I still have 500 to 300 users online that are active on social media in the middle of the night. So this is where the schedule tools comes useful. If you post a post in the middle of the night at 1 a.m., 10 a.m., 10 p.m., 2 a.m. in the morning, you're going to reach customers that you would never reach during the middle of the day. There's a part of the algorithm where if you put up new content, it wants to show fresh content to its audience. So the people online at this time of the day, they could be night shift workers. They could be nurses, they could be service station attendants, they could be cleaners, they could be tradesmen refitting a shopping centre. There's active people online in the middle of the night. They could be police officers. So there's always potential that you could be targeting people at these times of the day. And if you put up some content, you'll get some engagement back from them just because no one else is posting. So we always recommend that you test out putting posts up in the middle of the night. If we look at our scale here, our audience starts to come back online, converted around about 7 a.m. in the morning, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. in the morning. And if I was to take a guess without converting this, I'd say it probably peaks around about 5 p.m. in the afternoon. Everyone gets off work, pulls out the phone, wants to see what's going on. So if you post at your peak times, depending on what sort of competition you have, it can increase the number of views you get, but it can also decrease the number of views you get because you're competing for that premium posting time. So as far as posting, what time is the best time to post for your business? I recommend that you try different times of the day. Test out different posting times and see what works effectively for you. If a similar style post reaches more people at a particular time of the day, post more at that time of the day. It's a lot of trial and error, but eventually you'll work out the key times. The other thing is, how many posts a week should I do? For most businesses, I recommend that you start around about 3 posts per week. You can try going up to 5, maybe posting every single day, or it could be too much. The way to tell this is down here where we see our engagement. Now, we can see which posts are performing very well, which posts are performing absolute rubbish. But if we click this downwards facing arrow on the right-hand side and go post hide, hold post, reports of spam, unlike page, we can see what the negative feedback is. So if we're getting a lot of negative feedback on our posts, I'd recommend not doing posts like that again. Tentatively, if you're getting negative feedback on all your posts, you're probably posting too much. So this one in particular, which is all about a turducken, which is when you take a duck, put it inside a chicken, and then put chicken inside a turkey. It had some negative feedback around hiding posts and hiding all posts. So while some people liked that, some people did not. This one here, which was on one of the butcher's selection for the dinner of the week, it had 1 hide all post. So that user's probably been seeing too much content from this business, which is an indication that we've been posting too much. Every now and then you are going to get a little bit of negative feedback. That's just part of the process. It's when you get reports of spam that you know you've been posting way too much content. So just the other thing to see is that this one has a lot of other clicks. So other clicks can be things like see more. So when you have more text and they want to read more information. Photo view is always good because you want people to be having a closer look at the photos. So with getting photo views up, if you use more than 4 photos, they have to click on the photos to see more. So if you've got some good quality pictures or something that's very detailed, put up multiple photos of the product so that your customers or the service, if you're a service-based business, put up multiple so your customers have to click and engage more with it. Because again, more engagement means that you're going to be getting more views onto your content. So this one here had 8 photo views and 139 other clicks. But great feedback. I had a little bit of negative feedback, but again, that's to be expected. So talking all things views, let's have a closer look at that. So I'm going to go back to our overview at the top here. I'm just going to load data for the last 28 days. So for the last 28 days for this page, we can see that we've had 9 actions. So actions are things like messaging, clicking through the website. We've had 595 page views. So when they've typed in the name of the business or they've clicked on the name of the business from one of the posts, which is always good. Page views means that they're going there and they're looking at your content. We had 42 new likes, 10,828 people reached with the content that was posted. We did one story which reached 682 people. 3 recommendations, and we got 4,537 post engagements and some views on video as well. So we always recommend that you try and get around about 60% post engagement to post reach. That's a good number to hit. If you can get your post engagement up, then you're going to get a page that's going to keep growing. It's going to keep moving forward. So we always aim for about 60% of the reach. So do your best to work towards that. Down here, it will show you your most recent posts. And down the bottom here, there's some rather quite cool information. There's pages to watch. Through pages to watch, you can add other businesses, their pages, and you can just see how they're performing compared with your business. And it bases it on the number of likes you have, but it'll show you how much engagement you got. So when you click on the page, it'll show you any posts that they've put up for that week and what they were. This is just a great way to see how your business is comparing to competition. It's also great for if you want to get some ideas. So I recommend businesses add a combination of pages to watch that are local and pages to watch that are from far-flung places, for instance, overseas, that sort of thing. That way you can get really creative with the different types of posts that you put up. So that's all in pages to watch. The other thing that I'm going to show you is about our audience. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to click on people. So through the people tab here, you can see that the majority of our customers, again, this is all in page insights people, are female. And that's probably to be expected for our customer base. We know, looking at it from a very stereotypical image, that women do most of the shopping in the home. So having a fan base that's largely female is to be expected. The other information we'll show you is the breakdown of who your fans are based on how old they are. So as you can see here, we're essentially hitting nearly no one under the age of 25. So our audience really starts at 25 plus. And this could be largely based off the platforms that they're using. We know that under 25 generally aren't spending that much time at the moment on Facebook. They're looking at things like TikTok and Instagram and Snapchat more so. So this is where you have to understand who your customer is. If you're selling a product that is heavily geared towards youth, Facebook might not be the best platform for your business. Or in this case, it could be that we're not reaching that audience because the product is a little bit more expensive, it's geared towards an older group, it's more family orientated, or we just have such a huge following in the 25 to 44 range that the 100 or 200 so people that are 18 to 24 aren't on there to see our content. We can quickly work out how many of our fans actually are in this age group. If we go up to so I'm having a little difficulty here. If we go up to likes, we can see how many people currently like our page. So 5,803. So we can do a little bit of maths and work out exactly how many people are currently liking our page. My math skills aren't that good. So the other information on here is it'll tell you the people reached, again, based on those demographics, and it'll tell you who's engaging with it. So lately we've had a lot more engagement from men, and I believe it could be because they're posting more things relating about smoking meat and briskets and those sort of things. Post reach is more for a 50-50 split, but again, the followers are more orientated towards the female part of the population. The other information here is to give you a breakdown of what country they're in. So we're expected to see most of them being in Australia. You're always going to get a few outliers if you have any sort of large social media presence. It could be that these people in New Zealand here once used to live in Australia, or it could be that they've just following the page because they like the content. What we expect to see is the majority of the followers be from the local region, with this shop being a physical store with no online store. We want to have a very localized population that actually can physically come in and buy the product. If you're an online store selling to Australia, to the rest of the world, then your fans might come from more far-flung places. This information here is useful to see how quickly you're activating a region with your brand spread. So if you're in Rockhampton and you're trying to target people in Emerald and the followers, the likes aren't ticking up, then I'd probably be doing more research on the region as to how to actually reach the customers in that space. The final thing is just what language your audience speaks. This one's pretty straightforward, that the majority of them, their first language is English. But again, if you're selling internationally, you're starting to reach tens of thousands of people that speak Arabic, then I'll probably be looking at how you're approaching your content, or if there's another business in an Arabic speaking country that has a very similar name. So all very useful information. The next thing I'm going to show you is stories. So with this page, we do know that we posted one story. And from that, we had 662 unique opens, people that's seen that content. More for 50-50 split. And again, mostly from the Rockhampton region. Of the 620 opens, 123 swiped forward and that they wanted to go on to the next piece of content. Still led us around about 500 or so people that, stuck around and watched the content. This is interesting when we look at this number in comparison to our overview, last 20 days, our overview with the number of people that actually viewed our page. Stories is the next step. People are actively looking for short-term content. For those that have never posted a story before, story is up for 24 hours and then it disappears. The purpose of a story is more so to show day-to-day things going on in your business. It's more real, it's more active. So if I just go back to my main Facebook wall and I click on stories, nothing feels better. These are stories that are coming up, and I can skip through these stories and have a look to see what this content is. And there'll be various things here. People are spending more and more time looking at this short-term content. They're clicking through, they're wanting to see, more day-to-day, more real things, which is really leading into what's the next big thing. There's sort of two different directions, stories and video. Stories is very much popularized by platforms like Snapchat and Instagram, where it's all short-term content, and even to a lesser extent with TikTok, where you're watching 15 or 30-second videos, then swipe up and watch the next one. It's sort of largely based around the attention span of people now. They're just looking for that thing, the next big thing. We know that users are spending more time swiping than they are going through feeds. So video and stories, and the two very much do go hand in hand across all platforms, is definitely the future going into 2022. And videos are definitely harder to do. Users know this. There's a lot more things that you've got to understand when creating a video. There's important things like audio quality, visual quality, lighting, positioning, as opposed to a photo where it's static and there's, you can do quite easily a basic edit on it and have it look good. So the biggest problem that people run into when they start doing videos, and let me just get back onto our example page, is around the insights and how the videos are actually performing. So I'm just going to click on insights again, and we're going to go into videos. So this is going to show me all the most recent videos put up on this page. And if you have a very popular page, this is actually where you can monetize your videos and put ad spend on it where you get paid. But if we come down here and we have a look at videos, and I'm just going to sort of pick one of these at random. Wait for it to load. You'll see that this particular video, which is Confessions in the Cold Room, had 1,609 minutes viewed. Average watch time was 31 seconds and 3-minute and 21-second video. But down here we have audience and retention. So if I click on this, so relative is going to show you how it compares to other similar videos, and absolute is just going to show you how they're watching. So by about halfway through the video, we only have about 50% of the audience, and only 23% of the audience has watched it all the way through. That is until we unclick this. So these are 15-second views or more. So within the first 20 seconds, we lose 70% of our audience. And by the end of the video, we only have 4% that originally started it. So you have 15 seconds to 20 seconds to really connect with and engage your customer. That's when they're scrolling through their feed, your video comes up, it starts auto-playing. That's how much time you have to grab their attention and go, you want to have a look at this video, you want to watch it. So when you're developing your videos, you want to put something that's brand related or attention related straight away. So even if they don't watch the entire video, it sells your message. It sells to your customer what is about your product, what is about your service that they need to connect with and purchase. So either something that's going to grab their attention and keep them going a little bit longer, or something that is going to bring back memories about your brand when they see it next. The other thing we want to look at is audience engagement. Interestingly enough, our top audience is men between 25 and 34. Given the type of content, that is probably to be expected. So I encourage everyone who's been doing any videos just to see how long people actually stay watching it, how much your retention is, because it can be deceiving. So I generally recommend that for Facebook, you try and keep your videos under 1 minute. If you have a video longer than that, you're probably talking for a little bit long, or it could be you have a very engaged audience that are prepared to watch it all the way through. But I'll be looking to see how your videos are performing. If you have a video that you've made for your business, which is in sort of the 9-minute range, the place for it really is YouTube. YouTube is the video platform, and it's also the largest social media platform in the world. For those that haven't been on YouTube lately, they definitely do have some new features, including the new feature, which is Reels. So what I'm going to do at this point in time is I'm going to switch over from our desktop viewing over to our mobile viewing, just so I can show you a few functionalities with our TikTok and with our YouTube. So I'm just going to pause our recording. If anyone's got a question at this point in time regarding anything I've talked about up to this point in time, put it into the chat now, because question time is coming. So just give me 1 moment while I switch over to mobile. Okay, so we've switched over to my mobile. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up YouTube. So this is probably one of the really big changes with YouTube. You have all your sort of content sort of organized by what YouTube thinks is going to be interesting for you based on your search traffic and history. But right next to home at the bottom there, we have shorts. And the shorts works in much the same way as TikTok, in that you scroll down through it and it shows you content. It has the likes, dislike, comments, and shares. The dislike is a neat function. I wish a few more brands actually had that. If we load up TikTok, for those of you that have never seen TikTok before, again, we have likes, we have comments, we have shares. And it works very much the same as shorts. If we jump on to Instagram, we have our feeds, we have our stories, and if we hit the button in the middle, at the bottom there, we have very much the same thing where we swipe up to see the content. We have the likes, we have the comments, we have shares. It's very quick and very easy to see that this content is very much copied from platform to platform to platform. They all work the same way. All these big businesses have done this simply because users are actively engaging with it. This works. People are interested in it. They're wanting to click through it. Probably the one big difference with Instagram at the moment is next to the stories function, they have the shop by function, which brings up your shopping functions, where you can click on a product and purchase it, which is really leading Instagram to be more of a e-commerce based platform. Okay, just close that one. So if we look at some of the big ones, Facebook, it's still growing. It's adding those e-commerce elements that Instagram has at the moment. It's working towards more those shop functions and that connectivity. Instagram is definitely chasing the trends. They're losing market share, mostly with its younger audiences. And it's starting to heavily focus on those e-commerce elements with things like Instagram Shop. Their future may just be e-commerce focused. Snapchat isn't evolving. It seems to be going stale with not enough options for businesses to advertise with and too many unskippable advertising options for its consumers. So much so that the last time I spoke directly with Snapchat, which would have been at DMXCO in Germany in 2018, I was standing at their store going, what's the next big thing that's coming for you? What are your companies doing? They said to me, oh, I don't know, we have a new filter. That's kind of cool. Pretty good indication that they're starting to get a little bit stale and they're stalling out. TikTok, again, it's one of the fastest growing apps at the moment. So developing your brand on there is sort of the big question, and how do you do it? You got to be showcasing stories and day-to-day activity that's happening in the business, but it's also far-reaching in that it reaches people outside of your region. So trying to localize it just to your local customers is a little bit difficult. But if you're selling online, I definitely recommend that you start considering growing an audience on TikTok. YouTube's much the same. If you have the capacity in your business to be able to create video, then YouTube is such a powerful platform for you. If you don't have the capacity to be creating regular video content, which I know is difficult, then there's some great advertising options there where you can put up those short 15 seconds unskippable videos at the start of YouTube. Just make it something interesting that your customers are going to love and not something they're going to hate while they're waiting to watch, that next video. So that covers sort of all the main big platforms. LinkedIn still has its very strong place with B2B and for recruitment. So if you're in the professional space, you should have some sort of LinkedIn presence. You should also make sure that you have a LinkedIn company page. Twitter is one of those unusual ones. It really hasn't had a big takeoff in Australia. But if your brand works with anything in international markets, especially with America, Twitter is definitely something that you should be considering. There's a few outliers, things like Pinterest, which can be useful, especially if you're in the creative space. But with all platforms, the two questions you have to ask yourself is, are my customers here? Or will my customers be here? If your customer's already there, you should be there as well. If your customers are going to be there, you should be there as well. It's always something to consider. So we have a few questions. Can visitors save stories? So they can definitely screen share stories. Depending on the platform, you can save them, download them, that sort of thing. With Facebook, you can't if you're a user, at least as far as I know. I've never actually been asked that question before. Let's just quickly test out that functionality. Looking at it from a customer point of view, I'm just looking for a business post on my page. There we go. And no, you can't save stories, not from Facebook anyway. So that answers that question. If anyone else has any questions, now's the time. We have reached the question segment of today's webinar. While you're thinking about your questions, you can put them in the chat or the question and answer below. I'll just let you know that through the Business Station Digital Solutions program, which is this QR code here behind me, but you can also search on Google, you can access 7 hours of business mentorship for $44. And with that, you can have detailed discussions with myself or one of our other specialist experts on all things social media marketing, website selling online, online security and data privacy, small business software, along with general business topics like cash flow management, HR, applying for grants, resilience and well-being. There's a great selection of different topics that you can also access additional training on. You can do that all through the Digital Solutions Program, which is an Australian government initiative. So just jump onto Google, type in Business Station Digital Solutions Program, and you'll find all the information on it. In terms of what you can actually get support with, or something like websites and selling online, you can get advice on what's the right platform to set up on for your e-commerce store. You can get information on what you need to know to build your own website, or what information you know before you go to a developer. And these topics spread across to social media. You can learn how to film videos on your mobile phone that you can use on YouTube or on TikTok or Snapchat or Instagram. Webinars like this are great for general information, but for that detailed stuff, I really need to know more about your business. So you can always scan this QR code here above my shoulder and find out more information on the Digital Solutions Program. So we've got a question regarding when it's useful to use the boost button. Some people say it is a waste of money. So the boost button is one of those difficult ones in that it can be beneficial if you really target your audience down to exactly who you want them to be. So use the create audience function. But for the most part, I recommend that you don't use the boost button. You learn how to use Ads Manager. When using Ads Manager, you get a lot more functionality out of promoting your business. But effectively, if you create the right audience, you can spend dollars in the cent and reach the right people. I've had very successful campaigns where we've spent $10 to $15 and reached the right customer, but I've also run campaigns where we've spent thousands of dollars and reached the right customers. So as far as what you should be spending in terms of advertising dollars, it really comes down to your customer acquisition costs. How much you're prepared to spend to acquire each customer. So in keeping that into consideration, it really depends on how expensive your product is and which platform you plan on advertising on. So the other one we have is from Paul. He's been online with products for 13 years, was anti-Facebook, to most my product and my consumers. So you setting up a totally business Facebook. What I do is I just create a personal Facebook account which has zero information on it. And once I get it set up, the very next thing I do is just go and create a business account. Once you have your business page set up, there's essentially no reason to use your personal account at any point in time. And you don't have to put anything on there other than the very basic information like who you are, your date of birth, and your email address. So with that, you can also set privacy so no one can ever find you. So you can purely use it just as a login. And one other very, very important thing is with anything to do with logins, make sure you always have two-factor authentication set up. It's very, very painful once you have a successful business page and some hackers come along, because then there's a very long, very complicated recovery process. So make sure you use the two-factor authentication function. It can save a lot of pain. And you can access that on the right-hand side through security and privacy. So do make sure you turn that on. I believe we have time for one more question. If there's any more questions, now is your very last chance to be asking me them. I'll give you a moment to put it in the chat. For everyone that has attended live today, I hope you have learnt something that has been very useful, that's going to help you out with using social media in 2022. If you'd like to leave me a little bit of feedback on what was the most useful thing that you learned in the chat, always appreciate reading those. Otherwise, I would also remind you that you're going to get a link with the recording, so you have the chance to watch it back if there was something that you missed while I was taking you through tonight's webinar on social media 2022. I'm Liam Fahey from Business Station with the Digital Solutions Program, helping businesses across Queensland, Western Australia, and Northern Territory. So Jennifer says that she had no idea that YouTube was the most used platform. YouTube is one of those ones that often people forget is a social media platform, but it is. You can put posts on it, you can comment on videos, you can respond to those comments. It is very quickly going to be the largest social media platform in the world, and that is overtaking Facebook, especially with all the complicated news stories that are coming out with Facebook at the moment. So I'm glad that everyone's got some useful information. At this point in time, I will be stopping the recording. So goodbye to everyone watching this later online.